Hi, thank you for joining me for this breathing session today. I'm Caroline and I'd like to guide you through some straw breathing. Sometimes I call it candle breath as well. What can it help? It can really support anxiety. It can support insomnia. So if you're finding it hard to get to sleep, really, really helpful to bring us into this rest and digest side of our nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system. So if you have a busy head, this can be really, really helpful. It's often known to help tinnitus, so that ringing in the ears, but also really helpful if you get headaches or migraines, this idea of calming your body down through extending our exhalation. So to begin with, finding a comfortable position to be in. So if you're coming to sitting, I'm sitting on a cushion here, and making sure that your knees are level with your hip bones, if not lower than, and that might mean sitting in a chair. It's really important because if our knees are up high, our breathing muscle, the diaphragm, hasn't got the freedom of movement it needs to make sure we can breathe well and breathe deep. If you would prefer to come to lying down, you might want to be doing this in bed before you go to sleep. Making sure that your head is level with your heart is really helpful. So there's no undue pressure on the neck, but also on our breath. So I'm going to come to lie down here. It could be helpful to have your knees bent, feet flat on the surface or perhaps on your mattress to allow your deeper abdominal muscles and your lumbar spine, your lower back, this whole area to be fully supported and rested. If you want to lie out flat, then making sure that you have a little bit of support under the knees can be helpful. A pillow, perhaps. And again, this is going to allow the lower body to completely soften so the diaphragm or breathing muscle can move with ease. You'll notice here I've got my head in line with my heart, but you may well be a little bit further propped up in bed or with some extra support. So making some time to create a little bit of a nest, a little bit of comfort here as we begin to settle into stillness. I am going to use a straw to demonstrate for a few rounds today. If you have a straw available, it might be useful just to get to feel this breath. As I have to do in my breathing classes, we are going to start with releasing through our jaw. So if that feels okay for you, beginning to open your mouth wide, maybe even stick your tongue out. And you might also release through the lower jaw area. So I like to push my tongue into my cheek, make some funny faces, roll my tongue under my lips, over to the cheek. So we're beginning to soften in the jaw area, which is where we often feel or hold a lot of tension, particularly if we upper chest breathe or mouth breathe overnight. Maybe we clench our jaw, grind our teeth. So this possibility of inviting softness here to help support our breath. If you're seated, you may like to take a couple of shoulder rolls. If you're lying down, you could just simply shrug your shoulders, a little bit of movement softening there. And when you're ready, gently sealing your lips and breathing in through your nose. So as we consciously breathe, we can begin to change our breath for the better. So before we begin to explore straw breathing or candle breath, you might like to encourage your breath to travel down. So your inhalation traveling to the lowest parts of our lungs, where most of the gas exchange takes place. So base the lungs roughly under the base of the rib cage, those last couple of ribs. You could take a hand or both hands here if that feels okay for you. You may be familiar with this and begin to gently encourage your inhalation to travel down below. you feel your breath as at ease, it's traveling softly, gently down to the lowest parts of your lungs. You can feel the movement here, the base of your ribcage, just above the navel, the belly button. Beginning to tune into a deep breath, and this is a really good signal of our diaphragm working well. So perhaps you take your hands at the sides of your ribcage here at the front. You could take your thumbs to the back if that feels possible. I'm just beginning to feel into your ribcage expanding as you breathe in. Perhaps noticing the soft retreat as you exhale. This lovely expansion in the body as you inhale, and a softening contraction as you exhale. Still breathing in and out through your nose. And if you do have a straw to hand, this is where you might like to use it, not necessary at all. We're going to begin to slowly contemplate our straw breathing. So we'll be breathing in through the nose and gently and softly out through the mouth. So if you have a straw, having that to hand, you could simply imagine you're blowing out through a straw, your exhalation. So in your own time, when you're ready, making your exhalation a little bit longer. If you haven't got a straw, it's a very similar technique, breathing in through your nose. And softly and gently pursing your lips and breathing out through your mouth. Well, I mentioned I sometimes call this candle breath. So if it's helpful, maybe you have a candle you can light, but you could also begin to call to mind or imagine a candle lit, and that you are blowing at the flame, but trying not to blow it out. So a very soft, gentle exhalation, trying to make the flame flicker. And as with all breathing exercises, breath work in general, making sure that you're listening to your body. So if any uncertainty, overwhelm, anxiety arises, pausing. Come back to this technique and try it again later. If it feels just not comfortable, if you begin to feel a little bit dizzy or lightheaded, taking a pause, taking some normal breaths, and perhaps coming back to it later. Maybe noticing how your exhalation is naturally a little bit longer with this technique. You may even be more aware of the lungs emptying, and a gentle shrinking back, softening, retreating. You might like to check in with your shoulders, your jaw area, making sure they're still soft, they still feel relatively relaxed. Sometimes we concentrate with our jaw. So an invitation here, perhaps to take the jaw stretching once again. Soft smile encourages our jaw to be relaxed. Perhaps making this your last round. And in your own time, coming back to breathing in and out through your nose. Maybe noticing how you're doing now. Perhaps any changes to your breath. Maybe it's slow down a little or become a bit softer, lighter. Maybe your mind's a little bit quieter. So straw breathing or candle breath, really helpful to support sleep, to aid digestion as well, because we're coming into the rest and digest side of a nervous system, to ease anxiety, overwhelm. For those who suffer with hot flushes, night sweats, can be really helpful to ease that stress, that feeling of being out of control. Also really helpful for headaches, migraines, perhaps tinnitus as well. And also pain, actually, extending our exhalation can really help us with any pain we may be feeling.